You are connected as the host. Welcome, host. You are now and can manage.
Hey Ryan, hi, this is Sarah Palin.
Ryan, Donald Trump Jr.
Harsh to and see you. Hey everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics. Follow on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Here is your host, Ryan Samuels.
Good evening, America. Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show. We're here. We're live. Been trying to get to this show for a couple of weeks now, but there's just been so much going on that we had to cover that this had to take a back seat. So tonight we're going to talk about Joe Rogan and JD Vance. JD Vance said some things that kind of put everybody's tails in a tizzy, right? We've talked about it consistently on this show. JD Vance is running for president. That's what he's doing. This is a shadow presidential campaign. It is what it is. He cannot say that he's running because there's election rules that if he violated could really cost him the presidency if he doesn't follow these rules. He could really be eliminated from the process. He has to wait to announce until a very specific time before the elections continue. So that's what he's doing. That's why we saw him on Bill Maher, on The View, on Joe Rogan, you name it. He's been on it. He's promoting his book called Communion. I have the book. I've been reading it. It's an awesome book. JD Vance is such a good writer. It's basically what his background is. He was in the Marine Corps. He was a what we used to call combat camera. I remember when I was in boot camp on Parris Island, we had a kid in our platoon, and he was a combat camera guy or a combat correspondent, journalist, whatever you want to call them. They're just journalists. They take photos, they write stories, but they get a very good writing foundation in the Marines. And that's where JD Vance got his writing foundation, in the Marine Corps. He talks about it. He tells you about it. And his book, Hillbilly Elegy, was an amazing hit because of that. So this is a continuation of that book, but it talks about how he returns to faith and God and the Catholic Church. Well, he doesn't return to the Catholic Church. He came to the Catholic Church and the steps that he took to get there, and why he got there. He goes on Joe Rogan. They start talking about everything under the sun: aliens, the elections, California, you name it. He's talking about it, and people are kind of losing their minds a little bit. So that's going to be the topic. Don't forget, you can call into the show 561-786-2916. We are live Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every night, Monday through Friday. If we are not live, there's a major problem. But we try to be live every time and not skip any, but sometimes we do. We apologize for that. That's the topic. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. So JD Vance on Joe Rogan is what we're talking about. Here is the book Communion by JD Vance. Told you I had it. Bring my receipts. I have been reading it. It really is such a good book. You should pick it up on Amazon. It's super cheap. It's nothing nothing crazy expensive. I got through most of it. I'm almost done with it. I will be writing a book review on it. And it'll be on the newsletter at ryanfsamuels.com if you want to check it out. We have a number of book reviews on there. But on the show, a major topic was California. Now, Gavin Newsom took this to serious offense, and we're going to get to that. I think I have a tweet from him in there. But this is Joe Rogan's from California. He's from the Los Angeles area. He hates what Democrats have done to California just as much as I hate what Democrats have done to New York. And the reason I don't live at home anymore is because of Democrats. But here's just a quick snippet of what they were talking about.
I'm not one of these people who says we should just abandon California to the Democrats, like let them deal with their own problems. I think California is like a quintessential part of the American dream. Like if you just abandon California, you've like lost something very core to American culture. And I don't want to give up on it. Like I'm not saying we're going to win California in my lifetime necessarily, but I don't like the idea of giving up on it.
Well, it's not just giving up on. I mean, giving up on it would be terrible. It's an awesome state. The real problem is it's deeply corrupt.
Yes.
I mean, deeply, deeply corrupt. And what they're trying to do is make it impossible for the other side to win.
Yeah.
And there should be laws against that. First of all,
They're not wrong. So they're not wrong. And they're trying to get the Save America Vote Act passed, which they definitely talk about. I have it in one of these clips. I almost guarantee I have that. But they're not wrong about California. JD Vance, here's what you're going to see from JD Vance. What you're going to see from JD Vance is him kind of walking the fence a little bit. He's not going to make statements that are too radical. He's not going to make statements that are too far to the right. He's going to walk the line and appeal to the moderate voter. The moderate voters are the ones that win elections. The moderate voter are the swing voters. People like you and I are never going to vote outside of our party line. I mean, I would just not vote rather than vote outside of my party line. I just wouldn't vote. And that is true for the majority, a lot of Republicans. When you're running for election, you're looking for the people that, I kind of like JD Vance, but I also like Gavin Newsom. I don't really know who to vote for. Those are the swing voters. Those are the ones who take an election and they make it a victory. I'm going to vote the same way every time. Every time, along with a lot of people. So he's not appealing to me. He doesn't care really what I think or what a lot of you think, because I'm going to vote for him anyway. If JD Vance is the candidate, I will vote for him. He would have to say something so ridiculous and outrageous to lose my vote. So, but Joe Rogan has a specific place in his heart for California. And when JD Vance says that that California is kind of the American dream, I mean, it's true. There were so many songs, people going out west, the gold rush. It's got a serious and sincere history in the United States of America that Democrats are destroying. I mean, they are. That's not a statement I'm making from a partisan position. That's the reality of it. That's the truth. And, you know, you can't fix it because they're not letting you. They also talked about the White House UFC event. Obviously, that's going to come up. That was for Donald Trump's 80th birthday and America's 250th birthday. Josh Holkett got up there and said that Michelle Obama was a man, and everybody lost their minds. And here's what JD Vance had to say about it.
Watching it, I didn't realize that. I just could not believe that dude held out for like 30 seconds with his
Was
arm in
that more
position.
shocking, or when he said Michelle Obama is a man? Which one was more shocking?
Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America?
Definitely the armbar part. Man, I work in politics. People say crazy stuff all the time.
Well, he says that every fight.
Does he?
Yeah. He said that the last time I interviewed him.
Oh, man.
Well, he's like a pro wrestling character. Like
people lost their minds about it.
I know.
Lost their minds about it. To the point where, again, I had The View either the next day or the day after to sort of promote this book.
That must be fun.
It was crazy. It was harder than anything I've done in politics. But the to the point where all of my comms people, the thing they were most worried about was they're going to ask you about Michelle Obama being called a man. What are you going to say about it? And I was like, what, an amped up fighter told a joke after a fight, said something after a fight, and that's actually national news. I'm still surprised. I've been in politics now for 3-4 years. I'm still shocked the shit that people get really fired up about.
Well, I kind of understand it because it's at the White House. First of all, a cage fight at the White House is crazy already. I mean, if he said Michelle Obama's a man at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, it's like, okay.
It's less of a story.
What he is he's a very good fighter, first of all. But sometimes that's not enough to get attention. And so what Josh has done is created this persona, like this pro wrestling bad guy persona.
And this is something I did not know. I didn't know that he said that at every fight, basically. But it's amazing what happens when you watch and research things. But what JD Vance is taking he's taking the cool guy, nonchalant persona to this situation. Like, listen, we all need to stop being stupid. It was just a joke. I mean, who cares anyway? Right? Because he's appealing to the average Joe. That's what the whole theme is. And whoever does that the best wins elections. That's something that Donald Trump is very good at.
We talked to him off stage. He's like very normal, very smart guy.
Yeah.
It's just like he's decided, like, look, I want to maximize the amount of eyeballs that see me, and I'm going to create this crazy He comes out to the Hulk Hogan song, I'm a real American character.
I love the presentation, but again,
not the best thing to say at the White House. Michelle Obama's a man is not the best thing to say.
Fair, but the reaction to it to me was still totally disproportionate.
So they disagreed with that. Listen, JD Vance was in the Marine Corps at the time I was in the Marine Corps. We did not know each other. We served at the same time. And I could tell you Marines have horrible jokes that would shock the very core of this nation if they knew about it. So I'm sure he's heard them and he's participated in a lot worse jokes than saying Michelle Obama is a man. He also came out kind of against the Republican Party a little bit. And this is important. And it's smart on JD Vance's side. It's actually genius on JD Vance's side. He needs to do this. There is a giant rift inside the Republican Party when it comes to either the Epstein files, when it comes to the war in Iran, when it comes to big name influencers like Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, all of these people, all these anti-Israel people that are in the Republican Party that are causing the split, right? So he's not opposing them. What you're going to see is that he's not necessarily opposing them, but he is addressing concerns about the reality of the situation. Here he is, and this comment had everybody lose their minds. We're just going to play it. We're going to listen to what it says.
There was a Time story that came out yesterday that basically there are certain influencers in America who are being paid in order to attack the deal. I think some of it,
he's talking about the Iran deal, that there are influencers in the United States of America being paid to talk about the Iran deal and how it's a bad deal.
Just pure political ideology, right? It's foreign policy perspectives that are much different from mine. They think that America should that we can basically, you can wave a magic wand with the military and accomplish whatever you want. And, it's not that simple. You actually have to have a very clear objective. Military power can accomplish a clear objective, but you've got to have that clear objective. You can't just say, we're going to bomb until something good happens. That never works. The United States has tried that before. So I think it's a combination of things, but I definitely think you have seen this very discreet, extremely well-funded campaign to try to derail the negotiation and try to derail the deal. And, there's this Time article that came out yesterday. A friend sent it to me. It's like worth reading because it lists a bunch of people who have quite literally been paid by a former Trump campaign person who was himself paid by certain elements within the Israeli government. And those people are attacking me viciously for quite literally trying to accomplish the negotiation objective that the president set for the country. So
notice what he did. Notice what he did there, right? He's an amazing politician. He just appealed to the anti-Israel people in the Republican Party. He didn't say he agreed with it or disagreed with it. He just said, this isn't me saying this, but there's apparently some allegations of the Israeli government paying influencers to attack the Iranian deal because they don't like it. So he's appealing to the anti-Israel side of the Republican Party. But he's also talking about the Iranian deal side that's appealing to the pro-Israel side of the Republican Party. He's walking this fine line and pulling people on both sides to get behind him for the upcoming election in 2028. I promise you that's what he's doing. It is July 23rd, 2026. Put it in your calendars that I am telling you now that this is what he is doing. Because he's going to run, and Marco Rubio is going to be his running mate. There is a high likelihood we're going to see a JD Vance and Marco Rubio ticket, unless there's some sort of scandal between now and then with either JD Vance or Marco Rubio. But I don't think you're going to get a scandal out of JD Vance. I do not think you are. I think he's too smart. He's too cautious. He's too religious. He's too serious about what he's trying to accomplish.
Their position, like they're attacking you how?
oh, it's social media posts. It's, they're leaking to reporters. They're attacking me obsessively, saying that we should not be negotiating with Iran. We should just keep the military campaign going indefinitely. And that is their explicit position. And coming after me saying that, people have come after me and say that I'm influenced by Qatar, that I'm influenced by foreign governments, that, I take my marching orders from Tucker Carlson. And there's just so much bullshit out there, when what I'm actually trying to do is accomplish what the President of the United States told me to accomplish, which is a settlement of this that accomplishes our objectives. Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. We have the free flow of oil and gas. And like, I should be clear, I don't actually mind. I don't mind that let's say certain elements of the Israeli government want to criticize the deal or have disagreements about the deal. I don't even mind an effort to try to influence, foreign governments try to influence the United States all the time. Israel does it, other countries do it. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. What bothers me is actually when Americans meaning American leadership, allows that influence to affect their judgment and to affect what they are advocating for. That's what really bothers me. People are always going to try to influence the United States of America, whether they're allies of ours or whether they're enemies of ours. But again, when I open up the pages of Time magazine and I see that there's a literal foreign influence campaign being funded to tank the very deal that I was pursuing, and oh, by the way, many of the people who were receiving that money were actually attacking me in completely dishonest ways, my response to that is, well, go to hell. I'm going to do what I have to do for the American people. I represent Americans first, and that's the way that I've tried to do this job.
And I know what you're all thinking. I know what you're saying. I know what's in your mind. I do. Because it is insane that foreign nations are interfering in our politics. This is what they do. China does it. Russia does it. Israel does it. Great Britain does it. Everybody does this. Everybody tries to influence the United States of America because it'll benefit that country. The deal is not good for Iran. I mean, the Iran deal is not good for Israel. Donald Trump and JD Vance honestly don't care that much if it's good for Israel. They care if it's good for the United States. And that's what we elected them to care about. That's what we elected them to do, is to care about the United States. Now, on the show, they also talked about the clip, which they say is Donald Trump's favorite clip of Gavin Newsom. It's also my favorite clip of Gavin Newsom. Let's just watch it. It's hilarious, and I love it.
Past too broad of a brush here, but it's like, Gavin Newsom did this speech a few months ago. The president, I think it's the funniest thing ever, because he's like speaking to a group of black leaders and black businessmen, but it's like an audience that is 95% black. And they're asking him about his dyslexia and his struggle with education. And he basically says, yeah, I'm not very smart like a lot of you. And it's like,
I'm like you. I can't even read.
Can't even read.
Meanwhile, there's a ton of interviews where he's talking about all the books he reads. Like, he's so full of shit.
Yeah, he's full of shit, but it's
admirably full of shit. But I admire the fucking the sheer tenacity that he has in being full of shit. Because it's amazing.
It really is amazing. But it speaks to the incentives of, there's kind of like, look, there's a real populism that I'm very much past too broad of a brush here, but.
So Gavin Newsom did do that. And it shows just how much he what he thinks of the minority population. I'm like you, I can't read, to a group of black people. Now imagine JD Vance had said that. Gavin Newsom would be on the microphone talking about, the oppression, the racist white supremacist JD Vance is destroying this nation with his rhetoric. He must be stopped at all cause. That's what you would have heard. They also talk about Joe Biden a little bit. So all of these little things is that, number one, the far woke part of the Democrat Party is essentially, it's lost all its credibility. There is no more credibility in the far left extreme politics of the Democrats. There are no more moderate Democrats. The Democrat Party has been hijacked. It has been kidnapped, and it is being held hostage by select few Zora Mamdanis or Bernie Sanders or AOC's actual socialists. And a moderate Democrat doesn't stand a chance in the party. The good news is that the United States of America does not agree with them at all. It's a very few percentage. It's mainly focused in universities and the youth inside major cities. It's not actual America. It's these people who live in these little tiny bubbles. And they live in these echo chambers. And they just spew stuff back and forth to each other. And there's nobody there with any opposing view. But without secure elections, it's going to be hard to make sure that those people do not win. Here is their JD Vance talking about Joe Biden.
Where Joe Biden has just had that debate, and you have to go on CNN to talk about how great of a job Joe Biden did.
So they're talking about the final debate that he had with Donald Trump when he completely just forgot where he was and what he was doing and why he was there. And it was a huge embarrassment. And they're talking about, JD Vance is talking about how he was in the room with Gavin Newsom after the debate, and Gavin Newsom just turned white as a ghost. That how is he going to defend that performance by Joe Biden, which of course they did not defend that performance by Joe Biden. They removed him from the race and they put in Kamala Harris.
Well, my favorite is Joe Scarborough, because Joe Scarborough before it was I'm going to say something and F you if you can't take it. This is the sharpest Biden we've ever seen. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's amazing. And then after the debate, he's like, we got to get rid of him. He's got to go. He's got to go, hey, what did you say? You just said a couple of months ago, this is the best Biden ever.
That's wild.
Well, it's I wonder what was going on with that. Because, the debates were earlier than they've ever been before. And it seemed to me, it's there was a concerted effort to hide what was wrong with him.
100%.
100%.
Yes.
Everybody was bullshitting.
Yes.
Everybody was gaslighting us.
Correct.
We all saw it. I remember a friend of mine who's super progressive, super liberal. When I talked about it on a podcast, I'm like, this is crazy. Even if he wins, he's not going to be the guy that's the president. You're going to have his cabinet that are running everything.
Yeah.
Turned out I was right. And they were saying,
that's how it was for his entire presidency. His cabinet was running everything. We later found out that most of his orders are being signed by an auto pen. Do we even know if he knew what he was signing? Or if they were just running it through a computer and he never even saw it or heard about it? Would he even remember if they did?
Don't you understand that he has a stutter? And I said, where the fuck was that stutter in the 1990s? That's right. Crazy. That's right. A stutter that only shows up when you're 80? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
This is a lie. You're lying. He's had 2 brain surgeries, where they have to take the top of your head off. Literally, they have to take a cap.
Wait, Biden had 2 brain surgeries?
Oh, yeah.
How did I not know this?
You didn't know this?
I didn't know that he had 2 brain surgeries.
He had 2 brain surgeries. Jimmy, please look this up. Make sure that I'm right. I'm 99% sure I'm right. But I know he had
did he get a refund afterwards?
Well, it kept him alive. Biden has not undergone recent brain surgery. He underwent 2 successful, life-saving brain surgeries to repair 2 intracranial aneurysms in 1988.
I did not know this.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
His medical professionals have stated that he made a full recovery and suffered no lasting brain damage or cognitive impairment from these procedures. Oh, it's from the Washington Post, so you know it's accurate and definitely not biased at all. And these medical professionals, were those the same people that said that the COVID vaccine is safe and effective?
That would explain a lot with Joe Biden having 2 brain surgeries. But I mean, I had heard about that not very recently, but maybe like a few years ago. But they also got into the Epstein files a little bit. And this is important. And this is how I feel about the Epstein files. I get infuriated when people want to talk about it. There's nothing there. If there was something there, it's gone. It's been thrown away. It's been burnt. It's been destroyed. It's gone. It's no longer there. So releasing everything, it's not going to make it different. There's not going to be any major revelation. But they brought it up. JD Vance is a little bit of a conspiracy theorist here. You're not going to know what he truly thinks because he's walking this line. He's trying to get votes. He's trying to pull in these Epstein people and these anti-Israel people who are against Trump to be pro JD Vance. He's trying to pick up the opposers in the Republican Party to Trump to get on his side so that he can win the nomination and be the next president of the United States.
This is a dude who knew everybody. He knew everybody. So, look.
So where did his money come from?
Well, from given part of it is suspect tax advice and setting up tax schemes for a lot of very, very rich people.
Right, but why was he motivated to influence academia, and what was the purpose?
I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, I have theories. There's of course the...
Well, most people think he was Mossad.
Yeah, Mossad or CIA or some other deep state, whether in America or Israel or another country. Or both. Look, he clearly had connections to the highest levels of American intelligence. He clearly had connections to the highest levels of Israeli intelligence. This is a dude.
I mean, maybe. I'm not really buying that. That's just me, though. I don't buy that. But that's, and I think JD Vance actually buys that. But there's nothing to prove that, right? It could very well be. You're never going to know. I'm never going to know. You can look at it till you're blue in the face. You can create scenarios that just basically do not exist. But you're never going to prove it. The Epstein files are dead as far as I am concerned. But they also talked about the COVID vaccine. And JD Vance said it was the sickest that he had ever been in his life was after he got the vaccine. Listen.
I took the vax, and I haven't been boosted or anything, but the moment where I really started to get red pilled on the whole vax thing was the sickest that I've been in the last 15 years by far was when I took the vaccine. And I've had COVID at this point 5 times. I was in bed for 2 days. My heart was racing. I was like, the fact that we're not even allowed to talk about that, even, no like serious injury, but even the fact that we're not even allowed to talk about the fact that I was as sick as I've ever been for 2 days, and the worst COVID experience I had was like a sinus infection. I'm not really willing to trade that. And you don't even, everybody that I know, or a lot of people I know, they talk about the second shot that they got of the vaccine that made them really, really sick. Well, that's a side effect, and not a side effect that we even talk about enough in this country.
No, it's also, again, we're talking about companies that have a long history of lying and being forced to pay criminal fines, and then we're giving them this exemption from being responsible for any of the side effects.
Yeah, and who do you think those big pharma companies donate to politically in 2024? I'll give you a big fat guess.
Probably Kamala Harris.
By a significant margin.
Well, we all knew that. You couldn't say that at the time. We might even get flagged now for even considering bringing it up. But that also had people in a tizzy. They're like, well, it's Donald Trump's vaccine. And yes, it is. I say that all the time. Operation Warp Speed. Donald Trump, we got to get this vaccine for this COVID out to the public. No exceptions. No, it has to happen now. Don't question it. Get it out now. Turns out it wasn't really a traditional vaccine. It was an mRNA, which is significantly different. That's why you needed 10 million boosters. Here is JD Vance talking about having the 10 commandments in school. Obviously, Joe Rogan is more of a traditional liberal. I haven't watched this. I'm going to assume that Joe Rogan is not for this.
I had James Tallarico on the podcast, and one of the things that I think he has a really good point about, even though I know you're Catholic and you're very religious, putting the 10 commandments in schools, I don't think is the right way to do it. And this is a guy, Tallarico, who was in seminary and is very Christian. Mm-hmm. And he just thinks that even though he believes in the 10 commandments, if you're just only representing the Christian faith in these schools, you're forcing your religion into other people's lives, and that this is going to push people away from Christianity rather than encourage them to pursue it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you never want to force things on people. And I do, I think one of the core Christian contributions to Western civilization is the idea of freedom of religion. It's actually very much a Christian idea because you recognize the dignity of each individual. And part of recognizing that dignity is that each person has to find their own pathway to God. You can't force this on anybody. I don't think putting the 10 Commandments up in school is like forcing things on anybody.
But it's public schools. So, I mean, if you're going to do that, why not put Buddhist scripture? Why not put, Muslim stuff? You could make an argument why you should have a bunch of different religious tenets in schools.
I think in the Supreme Court there actually are a lot of different sort of historical, cultural, legal documents that are up there, and I want to say that Moses coming down with a tablet is one of them, but I think there actually are other cultural, maybe even other religious elements of this, like where you recognize that a big part of sort of the law-giving tradition in Western civilization is some of these religious texts, not exclusively Christian religious texts. Obviously, some Jewish. There's like an important contribution from the Muslim world in this. So I guess I don't think of it as exclusionary, while also recognizing that America is a society. Our founders were people who were very much influenced, even if they weren't Christians. A lot of them, of course, were, but
they were all Christians, basically.
Were very influenced by Christian culture. And
the entire United States is founded on Judeo-Christian values. Our entire legal system and law comes from Judeo-Christian values. Without Judeo-Christian values, thou shalt not kill would not be against the law in the United States, because that's where it comes from. That's where murdering somebody and government trying to stop it comes from the biblical texts. It comes from the God of Abraham. It formed our entire way of thinking. It forms your individual rights, your individual freedom. The entire natural law theory comes from Christianity. It comes from Judeo-Christian values. Now, what the founder said is that the government shall not make an establishment of religion, basically saying that you will not require everybody to worship the same God as you. But it doesn't say that the 10 Commandments can't be posted in a public space. Now, the caveat to that is this is why schools should not be public spaces. This is why the government shouldn't be running schools. Because then you could send your kid to either a Christian school or a Jewish school or a Buddhist school or an Islamic school or whatever your values align with. It's very hard to teach education from a secular perspective, particularly when it comes to government and individual rights, because where do your rights come from? Your rights come from God. Well, which God? In the United States of America, they come from the God of Abraham. They don't come from the government. Hey, Michelle, welcome on. That's where I'm at, because you can't have the Bill of Rights without God. You can't have individual freedom and natural law theory or a Declaration of Independence without God. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams agreed with this. There's also another thing that Thomas Jefferson and John Adams agreed with, which you may not know, and that is they questioned the divinity of Jesus and called calling him God heresy. It's in their letters. Gordon Wood wrote an awesome book called Friends Divided. It's in there. Look it up. Fact check me. Do it live. So even two people who disagreed about Christianity agreed that your rights come from your creator or your humanity. So it's very hard that your rights just come from nowhere. They can't be taken away from you. So how are you supposed to explain that from a secular perspective? It's challenging. Let's listen to more of it.
Articulating American law. So my argument would be, even if you're not a Christian, like, does seeing the Ten Commandments, let me put it a slightly different way. Does seeing the Ten Commandments force religion on a non-Christian child? I mean, my argument would be no, and I'd illustrate this by saying, well, there are all of these ways in which you actually could try to force religion on a child, right?
Well, it's not the worst way to force religion on a child, but to have it and not represent any other religion. This is Texas, by the way.
Sure.
So what he's talking about was that there's these Christian nationalists, these guys that are very wealthy, that are trying to fund Christian schools and trying to defund public schools or any other kind of religious school.
I certainly went through an atheist phase in my youth, and what I would see that as a non-religious person or a different religion is I would say this is like an important cultural element of the Western civilization, which is the foundation of the classroom that I'm sitting in. And this idea that the law comes and is sort of above any man, even if you don't believe in God yourself, I think that's like an important concept. I mean, if you look at the Ten Commandments, probably 8 of them are something that I would hope that everybody would agree with, even if they're not themselves religious.
The problem is it's mandated. Like if you have a classroom and the teacher is Christian and the teacher wants to have it in their classroom, maybe that's one thing. But if you're mandating that you're going to have the Ten Commandments in classrooms, that's a different thing, because now you're pushing Christianity on kids, and this is Tallarico's position. And as a Christian, he's saying, I think this is going to push children away from Christianity.
So I understand what he's saying. I think that part of living in a society where you have different people with different perspectives, but you do have, I mean, Christianity is the majority religion of the United States. It is the religion that was extraordinarily influential to our founding, to the constitutional principles. Again, freedom of religion is itself not really a liberal concept. It was originally derived from a Christian idea about free will and the dignity of the person.
The idea of being exposed to it is one thing.
They go back and forth. Obviously, Joe Rogan is not on it. JD Vance really is not taking a position, honestly, and quite frankly, because he can't, because he's running for president. So he's trying to say, I don't mind it. I don't think it pushes religion on kids. It's a serious, it's laws of morality. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think you should live by the Ten Commandments. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Here is JD Vance talking about how they mishandled the Epstein files.
We mishandled the Epstein release. Guilty. We did mishandle, especially the communications of it.
What do you think should have been done?
I think that we should have just dropped everything at the very beginning. And like, obviously it takes a little time to review the stuff, to find the stuff, to redact things where you have victims and so forth. But we should have just done it as quickly as possible.
But some of the stuff that was redacted, some of the names that were redacted weren't victims.
So yeah, I've looked into this, and my understanding of this, having looked at a lot of this, but not all of it, is that it is sometimes hard to draw a distinction between victim and co-conspirator.
So Vance says that quote, we mishandled the Epstein files.
Yeah, and they did. That's John Kiriakou, former CIA guy, hates the government because the government screwed him over. I really like him a lot. I'm not sure what he's about to say, but I don't care. We're here to talk about what we think of it. But what he's saying is that essentially they should have just immediately just released everything that they possibly could have. He goes on to say, it's not in that clip, but he goes on to talk about Pam Bondi and how she misrepresented what she had for political power and leverage, and that they kind of dropped the ball, and then he kind of just takes responsibility for it, which good on him. I'm glad that he does. But there's nothing to the, I mean, yeah, they should have released them all. He goes on to talk about a victim and co-conspirator, that somebody was a victim. Then all of a sudden, assisted Epstein in recruiting other girls. Now they're a co-conspirator and not a victim. So therefore, or they're a victim, but they were manipulated into a co-conspirator. So the victim's name has to be hidden, but they're also a co-conspirator. So you see an email of a co-conspirator saying, hey, I lined up all these girls for you. Boom. It turns out they're actually a victim. So that's why their names were redacted. That's what he's saying. It's a lose-lose. I mean, I said it at the time. Releasing the Epstein files is a lose-lose. If you release them, they're going to say you didn't release them all. You're hiding them. You're manipulating the release. You're throwing things out. If you don't release them, they're going to say the same thing. It's a lose-lose. Nobody's ever going to buy it. Everybody wants to be a conspiracy theorist. Everybody wants it to be true. It is not true. And I'm just tired of talking about it. Here they are talking about Skid Row. Back to California.
Skid Row is now 55 blocks. It was 50 blocks just like a year or two ago.
Okay, so my first experience with Skid Row was, so Usha used to work at this like very fancy litigation firm in Southern California. Before she was second lady, she was a corporate litigator. So there's a Christmas party in downtown LA, and you get these instructions from her firm, and they're like this really convoluted way of, this is how you have to get to this Christmas party. And I'm like, why do I have to follow these directions? Why don't I just put it in Google Maps, right? This is like 5 or 6, 7 years ago. So we realized that the reason why they gave you these convoluted directions was so that you could avoid Skid Row at night. And so you get to this party, you drive through Skid Row if you follow Google Maps' directions. You get there, and it's like this beautiful facility with like fancy food and fancy wine, and then there are armed guards outside of it and these gigantic walls. And I realized when I was there, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of going to the U.S. Embassy in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Like super security, crazy wealth and privilege and status on the inside, and squalor and misery on the outside. Like, it's the first time I'd ever thought America, like this part of America, is actually more like a third world country than anything that I thought we'd ever become.
California is horrifically bad. Horrifically bad. I'm trying to find this one clip. Let's do this. We'll go to this clip. This is them talking about how everybody's leaving California. This is true. I'm in Florida. Half of the people here are from California or New York. It's everybody. It drives the locals crazy. It drives me crazy too, because they come here and it's terrifying that they're going to bring their liberal nonsense with them.
These places like New York and really California, like especially Los Angeles and San Francisco, they're falling apart. And I have a bunch of friends that are stuck there that can't move. Like maybe they have family there, or maybe they have a business there.
Yep.
And they fucking hate it. Mm-hmm. And then I have a bunch of people that are trying to move, but they can't sell their house. Like, it's nuts there, man.
Yeah,
I don't think people, first of all, you get gaslit by Gavin Newsom. I mean, he's just gaslighting everybody about how well the GDP was like the 5th largest country in the world. That's what California is.
It's like, dude,
hey, bro, it was like that before you were the governor.
Yeah, exactly. Also, how much does a U-Haul cost if you're leaving California, and
Right.
how much does it cost if you're going to California? Because that's the real measure of whether a state's doing well.
Yeah, the state has more people moving out than moving in, and that has never happened before.
Correct.
California's, when I moved there in 1994 until I left, it was always every year traffic got worse. Every year more people moved there. Every year. And I loved it. I loved it. I loved it from the time I moved there. I was like, this place is great. It's warm all the time. The weather's fantastic. There's so much cool stuff to do. The people are great.
Yeah.
And then politics ruined it.
That's right. So
Like it ruins everything. The weather in California is amazing, and it is awesome. So this is another clip that kind of got Ben Shapiro all riled up. I'm pretty sure this is the clip, and I have a clip of Ben Shapiro's response that we're going to talk about. But he again on Israel. Now he doesn't attack Israel. He's not an Israel conspiracy theorist. He's just outlining concerns that are reeling in this other side of the aisle to be like, oh, JD Vance is one of us. Let's listen to this.
Narrative is that Israel has a very disproportionate effect on American politics.
Yeah, I see that. I see that narrative. I mean, I actually think that they look. Do they try to influence American politics? Yes, but like I said earlier, a lot of other countries do. I think
to the extent that Israel does.
I think some are better at it than others. I think the Israelis are definitely more effective at it than most, but I wouldn't say that they're the only effective country by any means that tries to influence American politics. I just think you have to be self-aware about it. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's a country of 9 million people. We have 330 million people. And so, of course, they're going to try to persuade Americans. They're going to try to move Americans in one direction or another. I think that's just the nature of the beast.
But it's more than that. The concern is that they're spying on American politicians, that there's concerns about funding, there's concerns about
spying definitely concerns me with any country, right? How hard is it to get dirt on a sitting congressperson or a senator and tell them, listen, I got this video of you with this chick in this hotel. And if you don't get on board with this budget passing to fund our Iron Dome or our whatever, or drilling for, or running fiber optic cable, or this funding for China's sweatshops, if you don't get on board with this, we're going to go ahead and we're going to expose this. So we're going to go ahead and need your vote. Now, what JD Vance is saying is true. Like, this is what countries do. We do it to other countries too. Full stop. We absolutely do. It's wrong no matter who's doing it. Saying that, well, Israel does it and other countries do it too, is not acceptable. We should not be permitting that if we are permitting that. Now, how to handle it is a totally different discussion. How to stop it, how to prevent it. I mean, how to know if they're being paid off. How do you know they're not being paid off with stocks or bonds or whatever? Because our economies are so intertwined that it's impossible to unwind them. But let's listen to what Maury has to say, and then we're going to listen to what Ben Shapiro had to say.
About influence, there's concerns about whether or not politicians are, whether they're aligned with Israel or whether they're aligned with the United States first.
Well, there's certainly, I definitely get those concerns, but my sense is that the way that all foreign influence works in the United States is people try to manipulate American public opinion, and then from manipulating a public opinion, they try to get the outcomes that they want. I mean, this thing is a very good example of this. So, we know, I'm telling you, beyond a reasonable doubt, we know that the negotiation strategy that the president has asked us to pursue, and again, with limitations, like when the Iranians hit ships, the president has been willing to knock the hell out of the Iranians in response. This is not just a negotiation. It's negotiation, it's military, it's all these things. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there have been people within the Israeli government who are trying to actually shift us away from that policy because they want to continue the military campaign. And by the way, like, there are people within their government that I love, I have good relationships with. I hope, and I don't think that they're part of this. I mean, you know, the ambassador of Israel to the United States, I think, is actually a really good guy. Obviously, he cares about Israel first. I care about America first. But there are some people within their system we know beyond a shadow of a doubt who are manipulating and trying to change American public opinion to keep the war going on indefinitely. Again, not towards any objective, but just indefinitely. So, like, does it happen? Yes. But I guess what I would say to the Americans who sort of see this and are frustrated by it, my attitude would be, you should be frustrated at American leaders who are, you know, persuaded by this, affected by this. Countries are going to do what countries do. I really don't. It doesn't bother me that Qatar tries to influence the United States of America, and they do. I like a lot of the Qataris, just like I like a lot of the Israelis. It doesn't bother me that Israel tries to do this. It frankly doesn't even bother me that Russia or some of these other countries do it. It's just the nature of being a political leader in 2026. What does bother me is when those operations, those influence campaigns, actually affect American political judgment, because they shouldn't. Because we should be thinking what is in the best interest of the United States of America.
Do you think that Israel is affecting American political judgment?
I mean, I certainly think that there are a lot of talking points and there are a lot of arguments that make their way into American political discourse. I think there are a lot of social media campaigns that definitely influence Americans and affect Americans. Do I think that it's been dispositive on any particular issue? Like, I think that's a much more difficult question.
Do you think that we would have started this war in Iran without the influence of Israel?
I think the president, completely separate from any influence from Israel, believes very strongly, and again, I agree with this, that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon.
Right.
And I think
Right. It's not Israel. That's not. This whole thing was not Israel's decision or Israel's influence. We do ally very heavily with Israel, so we do share intelligence with Israel, and Israel shares intelligence with us. But nobody's telling, like, one thing, like Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump. I don't care what you think of him, if you're neutral or against him. One thing about Donald Trump is nobody's in charge of Donald Trump. Nobody is telling Donald Trump what he's going to do and what he's not going to do. Only Donald Trump is making the decisions. Does he consult with people? Yeah. But he's also very independent-minded.
he was willing to do things.
Bombed them in June. Right, that was the initial attack, right?
June of last year.
Yeah.
Midnight Hammer, yeah.
Right. Do you think he would have continued with the most recent campaign if it wasn't for the influence of Israel?
Yes, I do.
Really?
I do. Yeah. Look,
Why
I mean,
do you think
I think, again, and I see this, and I see it even from people that are in our coalition, would be my flip side to the hawks who have been attacking me or the president mercilessly over negotiation. I would sort of turn this back on some of the doves or some of the realists who have been attacking the president of the United States.
The doves? Those are the peace people?
Peace people.
That's what you call them, the
hawks
doves?
And doves. You never heard that phrase?
I've heard hawks. I've heard hawks. I don't think I've ever heard doves.
Hawks and pigeons, hawks and I don't know.
I think it's more doves is peace,
doves
right?
is good, right?
Now, Ben Shapiro did not like this.
These places like...
Here's what Ben Shapiro had to say. And don't get me wrong, I like Ben Shapiro. But look at this face. This face that Ben Shapiro has is the face that he makes when somebody comments against Israel. Now, in defense of Ben Shapiro, he is a Jew. And he's not just a normal Jew. He's a very staunch Orthodox Jew. And he will support Israel until the day he dies. He is a citizen of Israel. That's okay. I expect him to do that. I like Israel. I support Israel. But obviously, my loyalty is not as deep as somebody who is an Orthodox Jew. So all of these people coming out and they're against Ben Shapiro, blah, blah, blah. I love him. He's probably one of the smartest, most intellectual political podcasters in the game. But here's what he had to say.
If you were elected to uncover all of this, you're doing a pretty bad job of it. If you have questions on what's going on between Jeffrey Epstein and, say, American intelligence, the CIA, or Mossad, or whatever, if you have questions, there's a person who's very, very high ranking in the United States government with the plenary capacity to gather that information. He exists in the mirror for the vice president. So pushing unbased conspiracy theorizing on Joe Rogan, it is unworthy of the office. If you were elected to...
That's what he had to say. I don't think it's unworthy of the office. I don't think he's pushing conspiracy theories. I think he's asking just questions. Like, and, you know, normal questions. He's not being ridiculous or conspiratorial. He's saying that, yeah, I've heard, this is a clip earlier Ben Shapiro was talking about, that, oh, yeah, I've heard that he had connections with Mossad or connections with CIA. He had connections with everybody because that's what he did. He was a great networker, Jeffrey Epstein. But Ben Shapiro takes this stance anytime anybody is the slightest bit critical of Israel. I don't blame him. Good for him. I'm glad. I don't think, if I was him and I was an Orthodox Jew and I was a citizen of Israel and people wanted to wipe me and everybody like me off of the planet simply because of my religion, I would be a little bit defensive too. For all of you that want to fight against Ben Shapiro because he protected the Jews one time. All right, we got a couple of... Jared Daly, POS Vance doesn't think America should support Israel. I don't think that's true. I think that thank you for your comment, man. I'm glad to have you here. I appreciate you. I think that JD Vance is primarily concerned with America, right? Number one. Number two, he's also he's running for president. This is a precursor to his run for president. So he's walking the line between the anti-Israel people and the support Israel people in the Republican Party. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for your comment. Here is Joe Rogan and JD Vance talking about the Save America Act, which is just, it's the dumbest thing on earth that it's not just law in this country. And it's been, and the United States has been around for 250 years, and verifying who you are before you vote is not a law on the national level.
It's just very disheartening that you have to consider the fact that it's really possible that the elections get stolen. And the California one was a big one for me.
And why not just have mail-in, or why not just have voter ID?
Yeah.
You actually
that's
saw,
insane. Not only did they not have voter ID,
Yeah.
you can't show your ID. You're not allowed to show your ID.
You can in fact be prosecuted if you try to force somebody to show their ID.
Which is, seems like you want people to cheat.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is from the same people that were saying you have to have an ID that shows you've been vaccinated just 4 years ago to go to a
grocery
restaurant.
shopping or to go to a restaurant. Yeah, no, it's definitely, that's the part about it that I think makes most people of my political persuasion skeptical of what the Democrats are doing.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to cheat in the election, then just make everybody actually show an ID. Another thing people don't realize is, I didn't realize until a couple years ago, the voter ID solves a lot of the mail-in ballot problem, because if you have to show an ID in order to get a mail-in ballot, in order to actually, confirm that there's a real identification attached to that vote, that solves a big chunk of the problem too.
This is just logical.
Yes.
Like, I'm not
Every country does it.
I'm not skeptical. I'm accusing them. I think they stole the election.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think it's common. And this idea that elections can't be stolen. I always say to people, okay, do you think that
anyone says an election can't be stolen is mind-blowingly unintelligent? Of course it can be. We steal them in other countries. We overthrow other countries' governments all of the time. All of the time. We do it. The CIA does it. They've admitted to doing it. What's concerning is, or have they ever done it here?
The amount of election fraud is 0%. No one thinks that.
Yeah.
No one thinks it's zero.
Exactly.
There's always some overzealous person that works somewhere that's doing something. There's always crazy people that like blue no matter who, we got to win, or red no matter what. There's always people, right and left, that are going to try to rig the election because they think it's imperative. Look, we saw there was people like Oprah Winfrey was saying it. Like, if we don't win this election, you may never vote again. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, why? Who's going to tolerate that? Left or right? That's crazy.
That's right.
But that attitude allows people to justify cheating.
Correct.
And I think they cheat. And I think they've been doing it forever. And I don't think there's any other reason why you would have no voter ID. And they try to say, oh, it's racist to have voter ID. Like, what are you talking about? Do you think other races are incapable of going to the DMV? That's insane.
Yeah, that's racist. It's actually super racist.
That's really racist.
Right. The implication of their argument is literally like blacks and Hispanics cannot go to the DMV to get an ID. By the way, if you look at the polling, Black Americans are as pro-voter ID. Even though most Black Americans vote Democrat, they're still pro-voter ID 84%. As much as white Americans is.
Most Americans are voter ID. They want voter ID, except for operatives.
So I'll offer on the Joe Rogan podcast this deal as vice president of these United States, that if Democrats really don't think that there's any cheating, give us voter ID.
I just don't know
give
how
us voter
it's
ID, and we'll stop talking so much about elections.
Why is that not a federal thing?
We are trying to make it a federal thing. So we are right now trying to pass the Save America Act. One of its main provisions is a requirement that you do voter ID. And we actually have, I think, a majority of the Senate that would support it. But this is just weird Senate procedural bullshit. There is a subsegment of people who want voter ID but won't blow up the filibuster in order to achieve it. And so they're so married to these old world Senate procedures that they're going to make it impossible for us to pass Save America. Now, we are, for what it's worth, trying to fix that and trying to address these like weird procedural archaic things. It's insane, though. Like, if you ever, okay, I'm sure you hear people talk about the filibuster all the time.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole. Here's what the filibuster is. It is a pure Senate rule. It is a creation of the Senate procedures, which basically says that anything that has to do with the budget is a 50-vote threshold. And everything else, non-budgetary, is a 60-vote threshold. Now, as you can imagine, there's some gray area on things that maybe count as budget issues and should be 50, or are not budget issues and count at 60. So what we have tried to persuade the Senate to do is to treat the voter ID as something that can fall within the 50-vote threshold. And there is no law, there's no provision in the Constitution. It is legitimately that there are senators who are so attached to the idea that budget is 50, non-budget is 60, that they're quite literally willing to prevent voter ID in America.
Pass the Save America Act, man. Why is this so friggin' hard to do? I don't understand it. Jared, yeah, I love that video too, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, man, if you're not cheating, then you need voter ID. If you are cheating, you especially need voter ID. Like 100%, man. Like, here, another thing that they talked about, they kind of got around to his book, right? So again, the book is Communion. I am promoting it for JD Vance. It is a great book. You should read it. You could get it on Amazon. You could pick it up at your bookstore. It's about his return to church and to Christ after he was an atheist for many years. They're talking about it, and Joe Rogan is like a super into like aliens or conspiracy theories, like whatever you want to call it. and they talk about aliens. Let's just watch a little clip of it.
Here's what I would put it is like there's also a difference between a demon and a ghost, right? These things are two very different conceptual things.
Right.
But if I'm a human being and I meet a malicious ghost, maybe I think it's a demon. And maybe all I'm saying is maybe there's some point at which the conceptually interesting, this is such a weird conversation, at which point the conceptually interesting discussion of what it is separate from how it appears to me and how I'm going to understand it as a human being. Here's what
they're talking about. Basically, JD Vance. I'm going to try to find the whole clip while we talk about it. But JD Vance they're talking about aliens, and Joe Rogan wants to know about what the vice president knows about aliens, Area 51, blah, 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 blah. JD Vance essentially says, listen, I'm trying to get into it and take a deep dive, but I really don't have the time because I have a million other things going on. This caused some controversy, right? So Protestants kind of came out and attacked JD Vance a little bit here. I'm empathetic. I'm a Roman Catholic. JD Vance is a Roman Catholic. It's my contention. I do believe that angels and demons are real. I think that they are here, and I think that they influence the way that we do things. I believe that we are all born, and our soul is provided at conception. And I believe in life from conception because of that. But they're talking about aliens, and they basically kind of get into this nuanced conversation that is just completely twisted. So essentially what JD Vance is trying to say is he's trying to say that if there's an entity here that you don't know what it is, and it's perhaps giving bad influence, maybe it's not an alien, maybe it's a demon that's trying to influence the world, or maybe it's an angel, this unidentified flying object that we're seeing. Maybe it entered in our realm and out of our realm. They're basically just have two dudes having kind of an in-depth conversation, and this got twisted and turned around into something that it is absolutely not. Right? I mean, it's that simple. That's all that this was, and that's it. I mean, there was really nothing to it, and. Hey, Michelle. Yes. Michelle agrees, and she's a Protestant. I think a lot of Christians believe. But I don't think he's saying that aliens are demons. Like, that's not what he was saying. He's basically saying that if angels and demons are actually real, and you see somebody from an unidentified flying object or somebody influencing something, you might turn around and say, oh, that was an alien. Aliens is the reason that this happened. But with just our worldly bodies and our worldly minds can sometimes interpret that as something we don't understand. And maybe a secular person would call a demon an alien, or an angel an alien, or some other entity an alien. That's all. And maybe that's kind of true. Maybe it is true. Maybe it's not. Maybe angels and demons are just aliens that come here from another realm that is unreachable. Here is JD Vance and Joe Rogan talking about Zoran Mamdani, a self-proclaimed socialist, a self-proclaimed anti-Zionist, supporter of the Palestinian people, and kind of wiping Israel off the planet. Interesting fact, and I posted this today, and I thought it was funny, that Zoran Mamdani came out. We did it on the show a couple days ago. I think it was actually yesterday, that he was going to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu when he came to the United States of America. He was going to lock him up because there's an international arrest warrant out for Benjamin Netanyahu. Called him a war criminal to the point where he had to come out and reverse his statements, and say that, oh, we don't have the authority to arrest him. Yeah, no shit, dude. You do not have the authority to arrest a foreign prime minister as the mayor of New York City. The janitor thinks he's the CEO. But I just had a question for, Candace Owens and all the conspiracy people who think that the Jews run everything. The Jews killed Charlie Kirk. Why would they kill Charlie Kirk and let Zoran Mamdani live? Why wouldn't they kill their enemy, Mamdani, who wants to arrest the prime minister? If they're so good and they control everything, why are they letting Mamdani keep Mamdani on the hook? Here's what they had to say about Mamdani.
Those fucking people scare me. I'm really concerned that people think that's a good idea and that they think that socialism just hasn't been done correctly. That drives me nuts because I think a lot of really well-intentioned, really kind and empathetic young people think that that's the way to go. And I do not think they understand the dangers of this ideology because it always leads to one thing. It leads to a very powerful military government that controls the population, period. End of discussion. And if you play it out, it is literally the only way they can get people to give up their money.
Yes.
It's the only way they can get them to give up their property. And when you're hearing Mamdani talk about freezing rents and taking bad landlords and then confiscating their property, you're like, this is step one of what's happened in every communist dictatorship throughout history.
Correct.
This is what happened in North Korea. Give the government the land, and we'll make sure that no one ever has to worry about food. What a great idea.
Yeah, man.
Look how it turned out.
Just common sense. Common sense for the world to know. But it was a good show. You should watch it or listen to it when you get a chance. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe on this video. If you're watching on Facebook, hit that like button. Tap, 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 tap. It pushes it to the top so we can get the show out there. If you like the show, go to ryanfsamuels.com/subscribe or /news and subscribe to the news article section. We write articles every day about the biggest topics that are going on in the world. And we need a list of the fans so that I can get in touch with you if they shut me down. They've shut me down multiple times. They've shut my YouTube channel down. They've shut my Facebook channel down. I've had to rebuild everything multiple times. So much so that I stopped spending money on it. Because I keep building these platforms up to 200,000 followers, 300,000 followers. The show's been endorsed by Donald Trump Jr., the Hodge twins, Sarah Palin, Uncle Ted Nugent came on, gave me an awesome show. The show's been popular, but they keep shutting it down, and then I have to keep rebuilding. So what I want to do is I want to own the audience. I want to be able to send an email and say, hey, they shut my Facebook page down. This is where you can find me. This is where you can find the show. This is where you can listen. There's no spam. I don't sell your email address to advertisers. You're going to get an email once every maybe couple of days. You can turn it on. You can turn it off. If you want to hear it, if you want to get a copy of every news article sent, that'll be in the section when you subscribe. It is free. All you do is pop in your email. It's one of the best ways that you can support the show. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending your day or your evening with us. I thank you. My family thanks you. God bless all of you. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Do not forget to go to ryanfsamuels.com, log in, sign up, and we will see you next time. Good night.